Today I'm going to take you guys behind the curtain and show you how I take all the footage from the wedding day and turn it into a beautiful cinematic wedding film. This is going to be my 12-step recipe for creating beautiful weddings every single time. Now the first and most obvious step is to import your footage into your editor of choice. I like to use Final Cut Pro because it's what I'm most comfortable using, and the organization tools are probably my favorite out of all the softwares out there. The next step is to, of course, get organized. So easily one of the most overlooked but important parts of the editing process is just organizing your footage by scene. So I like to use keywords to separate my footage. For instance, on the left here, you will see all the keywords that I use that are related to each moment from the wedding day. And this just keeps me fluid. It helps me when I'm editing and I can easily navigate through which parts of the day I want to add and incorporate into my film. And then once you're done with organizing your files, the next step is going to be to sync all of your audio and video together. When you're using multiple cameras on the wedding day, moments like the first look, the ceremony, the speeches, you want to have all of these moments synced up with all of your camera angles and audio sources that you use so that it's easier to pull the best moments from them. So I go back and forth because Final Cut Pro has two features. You can do the multicam or you can do the synchronization feature. Multicam takes a few extra steps, but it can be a lot easier and looks a little bit cleaner than the synchronization one. But in my opinion, it comes down to preference and just go with whatever you're most comfortable with. For multicams, this is what you want to do. You want to go into your metadata here, go down to camera angle, label each camera, camera A, camera B, camera C, depending on the angle. And then do the same for your audio files, whether it's the bride's mic, the groom, the officiant, and then you're going to highlight all of your clips, you're going to right click, and you're going to select multicam. And then you want to make sure that you have camera angle listed here since that's what you changed the names of. And then set your frame rate to 24, everything else looks good. And then once it's done, you have your synced multicam file ready for you to edit. Next is another tedious but completely necessary step in the editing process, and that is finding the best shots from the day. Essentially creating selects or favorites, all of your favorite shots, because this is what you're going to use for your B-roll. And one reason that I love Final Cut Pro is that they make this process just incredibly simple. You take a clip, you scrub through to find the best starting point, you press I, you scrub to the end, press O, and then once you have your selection, you press F, and it places this clip into a separate category called your favorites. Then once you have gone through all of your footage and favorites, you'll have all the best shots to easily grab and place inside the edit. And two ways to get your selects is by coming up here to the clip filtering, click the drop down, navigate to favorites, or go to your smart collections and select favorites this way. All right, and once we are done with our selects and our favorites, we have officially arrived at the biggest bottleneck of the creative process, and that is finding music. Now, of course, I use Musicbed for all of my music and sound design needs because they are by far the best library out there when it comes to just powerful, cinematic, beautiful music that creates that feeling that I want my films to evoke. And they are now becoming even more unstoppable with their intentionally curated library of sounds, and I can't stress this enough, but sound design is just a massively overlooked part of the editing process, especially in wedding films. And in my opinion, it's just a simple but significant way to elevate your film's production value. Sounds that bring you back into the wedding day, the atmosphere, the wind, the birds, the trees, Foley sounds like glass cheers together. Subtle sounds like these just travel so much further than you realize when it comes to the experience you're creating for your couples. So if you haven't checked out Musicbed yet, I do have a 14-day free trial that you can find down in the description below. But when it comes to finding the perfect music for your film, it's just gonna take some time, and there's some ways that you can make this process less overwhelming. It does help when you are fresh from the wedding day. You remember the tone, the vibe, the overall feeling from the wedding. Was it an emotional day? Was there a lot of energy? Was it just one big party? All of these things play a role in helping you decide which song feels right. And then next, what type of music does your couple like? Do they like folk music, indie, alternative, pop? Asking these questions before filming can be a huge help when you're navigating that sea of music. Next is to ask the question, what type of feeling is your couple expecting? What's the theme from this wedding? Is it Christ-centered? Is it romantic? Is it whimsical? Use the theme, the vibe, and the couple's personality as your guide when choosing your songs. Knowing which genre complements that theme and evokes that feeling and can help finding the right song less of a chore and a much faster and efficient process. And once you've found your songs, this is where you're gonna start building out your soundtrack. And the goal here is to create a score that flows and dances together as if it's just one song, even if it's multiple songs combined. And the easiest way to do this is by choosing songs with the same key. This is gonna help you blend and transition 2 or more songs together without that dramatic shift of emotion. And one of my favorite ways to do this especially is with tonal sounds. They're gonna add so much texture and character to your soundtrack. I use Multiply Sounds Tonal Sound Pack. They are a game changer. But if you want to learn more about tonal sounds, I do have a video linked above that you can check out there. All right, now that you've organized your footage, you've created your multicams, you found your music, you've built out your soundtrack, now it's time to map out the story. And this is where we take the most time listening to our audio, pulling out the strongest moments from each scene, and using dialogue to build out the narrative. And an easy way to save time, get started with a strong story arc, and find inspiration with starting your story is to use plotline. You know, I just used plotline in my live stream that I did yesterday. This is what I use just to get myself started in finding the strongest lines of dialogue and just understanding the overall theme for my story. And plotline is super simple to use. So you'll create a new project, you'll add in all of your multicam sequences from first look, ceremony, speeches. You'll export an MP3 file, you'll export an XML file, and then you'll import these into plotline. And then from there, plotline is just gonna analyze your transcript. It's gonna spit out story script that can help get you started, spark inspiration. And a simple formula when it comes to building out your story is start with a moment from the couple's day that has the strongest first impression. Then use dialogue from the ceremony that brings us into the story, whether that's the opening monologue, a strong welcome from the speeches, and then just keep going down the line of sharing more about who the characters are, where their story started, what challenges they faced, how they were changed through their journey together, and then conclude with that epic celebration. And then if you're ever struggling, one of my favorite things to do when it comes to the creative process is just to take a step back from mapping out the story and let's just focus on creating something fun and creative. So that's where creating the intro is just such an integral part, not just creatively, but for capturing that attention right from the start. You know, I think the intro is one of the most important because you do want to grab that attention early on and get your couple right in the feels. And this doesn't have to be super complicated. In fact, in my latest film, I kept this super simple but effective. It was just one long, beautiful shot of the couple paired with an emotional line from the vows, and then layered that with some emotional tonal sound effects and a musical riser. And then I just jumped right into the story.
No matter where we are, no matter where we go, we will always have a home. Because it's you, and it's me. And that's all we need.
But you can have this be as creative, as intricate, as simple as you want. This is where you just kind of let your creativity flourish here so that you can start building that excitement and energy and momentum towards finishing out your story. Next is to fill in the gaps. So once you have your story mapped out, you have your intro built, now you're gonna take all of those selects and favorites that you made earlier and you're gonna dress up your film. So when it comes to choosing the best shots, choosing the best B-roll, you really want this to dance with each other, to complement the story choreography. You want to show, you don't want to just tell. So instead of using dialogue to paint the picture, let your B-roll complement the words spoken. A good rule of thumb when it comes to B-roll is to follow the day in chronological order. Start with the establishing shots and then move into prep. Go into the first look, the pre-ceremony moments, the ceremony, the portraits, introductions, dancing, and then the send-off. And this way you follow a simple path forward and then you can play around with the order once everything is laid out. And then once you have your B-roll, then we move into color grading, which is something that I like to do as I go. I find that this just helps me I don't know, be more efficient, and I don't have to do too much tweaking as I finish out this film. Everything's just kind of being tinkered with as I'm navigating the edit. But if there's anything I miss, I like to do like a couple final passes through with my color. I use scopes, I use the vector scope and the RGB overlays, and this is mostly to monitor my skin tones, my white balance, and the overall contrast within the shadows. I film everything in S-Log3, so I'm gonna be using a conversion LUT. I like Gamet's base LUTs for S-Log3 as my conversion, and then I use my LUT pack, the Wayward Feels LUTs, to finalize and complete my look. And then after color grading is done, next I'm gonna be mixing all of my audio. So I use sound grades for all of the recorded dialogue, and then I also use Supertones Clear to clean up any unwanted background noise, reverb, any unwanted ambience, and then I'll silence all of my music and export to an audio only file. I'll throw this in Adobe Enhance just to clean everything up and layer this to finalize my film. And then once I'm done exporting, I upload all of my films to Vidflow to get that ready to send to my couple. Vidflow is just my favorite platform to use when it comes to delivering my films, and it just makes the most sense for me, and it keeps things consistent. I mean, we spent so much time editing this film. You don't want to just diminish the quality and the value by sending just a boring Dropbox or Google Drive or YouTube link. You want your couples to experience this to the fullest, and I think Vidflow has so many beautiful qualities that allow you to do just that. So if you're interested in Vidflow, I will have a link down in the description below, but that has been my 12-step process for creating beautiful wedding films every single time. I hope you guys found this video helpful and valuable in some way. If you did, it would mean so much if you consider liking and subscribing. Drop a comment below, and until next time, keep creating and telling beautiful stories. Peace.